Good Tuesday morning. Welcome back to our discussion about the fruit of the Spirit and the virtue of love that Paul talked about in the book of Romans chapter 5. And we talked yesterday about how that love was something that was agape. It was the love of God, and how it should be something that is forming our life, shaping our life. Today, I want to talk about how that same character of love inside of us should reflect God to those people around us. John, who is called the Beloved, wrote in 1 John chapter 4 and 8, whoever does not love God does not know God. Now, that's not a harsh statement. He's just stating a fact because he understands the love of God to such a depth, and was exposed to the love of God through Jesus Christ. He's saying, if you don't truly have this love, then you really don't know God, you don't understand God. And he concludes that verse by saying, because God is love, God is agape, God is divine love. So the Spirit calls us not just to receive Christ's love or God's love, but also to reflect it to the world around us, to shine through us. I think a great example of that, even though it's an Old Testament story, is the story of Joseph, who is, sold into slavery, betrayed by his brothers, spent 17 years, and in those 17 years went through a roller coaster ride of feelings, emotions, situations, but finally is the second in control of all of Egypt, a powerful man. And it's in this setting that his brothers appear before him and don't recognize him because at this point he looks like an Egyptian, probably walks like an Egyptian, and he has the chance to bring vengeance upon them. And yet he doesn't. In that moment, his heart is broken for his love for his brothers. And he says, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. God knew what he was doing. He was bringing me to this place to eventually save you. And it's just amazing how he chose that agape love instead of that vengeful feeling, action towards them, that bitterness. And that's why we still talk about Joseph today, is because his actions there so reflect the love of Christ, what we see in the love of Christ, which is a reflection and an example of how God loves us. So we are wanting to be Christ-like. That's what the fruit of the Spirit leads us to become, Christ-like. All of those virtues that are listed in the book of Galatians chapter 5, we call the fruit of the Spirit. They are obviously virtues that were very active in the life of Jesus Christ. And the followers of Jesus Christ saw them, they noticed them, and that's the way it should be with us. That's why in Antioch they were called Christians, or little Christ, or followers of Christ. That was probably a nickname that was given and used in mockery or to make fun of them, but the truth is, the church in Antioch embraced that feeling and embraced that identity that, yes, we are Christ-like. We are little Christ. We are doing everything we can to show the love of God. It was in that church in Antioch where Jews and Gentiles first worshiped together. They broke down those walls of hatred, those walls of division. It was in that church in Antioch that they had such a love of God in their life that they wanted everybody to hear it. They had a very strong missionary zeal that was just a part of their makeup, and it was something that spread to Christianity. By the end of the writings of the New Testament, this is what we find. We find that the Christians were Jews and Gentiles, male and female, slaves and masters. They were all eating at the same table. They were loving one another. They were helping one another. That's what the power of that love is, to bring about the showing of the character of Jesus Christ. They didn't only love one another, but they loved other people. I read a history book several years ago that talked about how during the plagues, and there was horrible plagues during that time, and when they would come, the rich people, the people that had help or any kind of substantial amount of money, they would flee the cities. The poor people were left there to suffer through the plagues. And the Christians would stay regardless of their standing in life, and they would help. They would nurse people back to health. They would pray for them. If they died, they would comfort the family. And the historian that I was reading was talking about how at the end of these plagues, there was always significant growth in the church because of the love that they showed those that were sick. And then another noteworthy way that the first church showed love is that they loved their enemies. They actually took to heart the things that Jesus said. And one of the things that Jesus said was, love your enemies. And they did. Even when they were being put to death, they loved those and forgave those, just like Jesus did on the cross when he forgave those who were crucifying him. So that love is radical that we're talking about, and it should still be a radical love in the church today, a love that sets us apart, a love that shows that we are different, that we are not like the rest of the world. And yesterday we talked about the vineyard and how beautiful they are. We talked about the root system that you couldn't see, but one thing you can see when those vines start growing and moving and is that when the sun's shining, it is just a beautiful picture of a vineyard on a hillside. It reflects the sunlight, and those leaves will, of course, follow the sun as it goes across the sky. And isn't that the way that we should be? Shouldn't we be someone or a group of people that reflect the love of God, reflect what God is doing in our life, reflect the work of God in our life? And so I just ask you to think about how you can apply this to your life. And here's a very easy way that we can do that. We all have someone in our life that is difficult to love. So you have a choice. How are you going to approach this person? And I pray that you will choose grace over reaction. Remember yesterday we said God loved us while we were sinners and died for us. So that's the grace of Jesus Christ. He's showing love to those who don't deserve it. And of course, we have these difficult people in our life that we feel like, well, maybe they don't deserve our love, but I sure didn't deserve the love of Jesus Christ. I'm thankful he died for me while I was still a sinner. So I just challenge you, why don't you reflect the character of God by responding to harsh or mean people with calmness, with kindness? Maybe sometimes you have to respond with silence, but that's okay. Show them the love of God. Maybe you say the prayer, Lord, help me to see this person the way that you see them. Let me see them through the eyes of love like you have. And then I would challenge you, this is a good way for you to apply the love and make that a part of your life, is just serve them in some small but very intentional way. No, they may not deserve it, and maybe you feel like they don't deserve it, but you know what happens when we serve people that rub us the wrong way? It starts breaking down all the bitterness and the anger in our own heart, and it starts planting seeds of God's love in their hearts. So I encourage you to do that. And then I just also ask you, why don't you just commit to one act of kindness towards that person this week? Just go out of your way to show them kindness. You don't have to feel love to show love. It's a decision that I make that I'm going to love them regardless of the feeling that is between us. And when we choose grace over reaction, this is what we're doing. We are serving intentionally. We're allowing the Spirit to love through us. We are reflecting the character of God. God bless you. Thank you for today, and I pray that you walk in the love of Jesus Christ.